Hello, everybody, and it's a great day here. It's even greater because we're having Richard Clayton in the house. It's amazing to have him here. Richard, I'm so happy to host you today. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Doa. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with your viewers and be a part of this, be part of the executive view. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm so excited, first, because I know you on a personal level. You're a great person, you're a great human being and professional. Second, because I just can't wait to ask you all of the questions that I need to ask you and to allow everybody who's watching us today to hear and be inspired about the amazing ideas and amazing business you have right now. So just for everybody who's listening and watching us, let me introduce Richard in case you have not met him in person or have not, connected with him before. Basically, Richard has over 20 years of experience in project portfolio and program management. Richard's expertise lies in driving project success through precision. His industry background spans financial services, agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and healthcare. Richard believes in a performance-focused approach, ensuring that strategic initiatives are seamlessly implemented to optimize project management processes, collaborating closely with internal stakeholders and external partners. He ensures deliverables meet clients' vision. Drawing from deep understanding of diverse business environments and stakeholder expectations, he provides exceptional team leadership. He involves himself in aligning strategic oversight and guidance with organizational goals to achieve optimal outcomes. Recognized for creating a culture of transparency, accountability, and inclusion within teams, Richard prioritizes coaching and mentoring to facilitate continuous growth. So, as a professional, you've been into multiple fields of experience. Tell us about all of them.
Huh. It's a great question, and yeah, it's a lot of years. It's interesting when you look back at your years of experience and the different things that you've done, and it's really makes you think about where it all went. Went by so fast. Yeah, I had the very fortunate experience to start quite young. I grew up on a bit of a family farm just outside of the city of Calgary here, and those experiences on the farm, in the agriculture industry, really set the cornerstone for some of the things that I believe in. Right, those core values when it comes to family and just understanding and building what it means to have certain work ethics and whatnot. So my my family is a huge part of where those values came from, and I believe in them today, and I believe in a lot more as well. So the agriculture piece, was primarily it was kind of a mixed farm operation with my aunts and uncles and my grandparents and whatnot. So it all started there with agriculture and just really getting, you know, my hands dirty, so to speak, literally, and being
Yeah.
able to, go from there and see different opportunities in the world. But when I always think back at some of those things, it always comes back to some of that. Where did I learn this from and whatnot? And so, moving on from the agricultural side, I had opportunities to work in various retail opportunities, the service industry as well as then moving into finance. Once I graduated out of high school, I had an opportunity to take some education and, kind of gave up on that education piece at the time as I had been involved in, seasonal work for so long that I wanted a prime opportunity. So I switched from an environmental study opportunity into the game of finance. So I was very thankful the people that were around me recognized my abilities and my foresight into things. And in the finance, I was able to rapidly be promoted through various positions. I started as a teller, back in the day when we would be able to actually see people face to face and do all our banking without the technology that we have today. But I started as a teller and I did a lot of the other different roles within the finance. And I was awarded a management training program. And then I had the opportunity to travel throughout the province because of the finance branches throughout. And so that opportunity then started building that management side of things, and administration and the human resources and operations. With administration management, then I also had opportunities to be an auditor for the organization, as well as an operations officer. So I've always had this ability to kind of think there's got to be something better and different, and how can we do things? So before lean was lean, we we had that opportunity and we asked the questions back in the day in regards to how can we improve things. Things changed. 10 years in finance was very stressful at the time, but at the same time, I was very rewarded with having an amazing family. I got married and had several kids, and that in itself made me realize that it was a stop time for pause in my career growth, and realizing that the values of my family were more important than the path that I was currently on. And so I took a pause in the family and we recentered ourselves, and I actually got into the trades. I became a certified electrician, Red Seal here in the province of Alberta in Canada, and then moved on to become a master electrician. And so working in the trades, it was kind of recognized with my different opportunities. I was a site superintendent and a coordinator for various projects in healthcare here in the city of Calgary. And with that, I then kind of the management background in finance kind of followed me. It was kind of weird. I'm in the trades and I'm pulling wire and making things work electrically and whatnot. And that management side just always kept creeping in. So looking at things from a different perspective and always trying to see how we can do things, from an improvement sake, efficiencies and training. I had the pleasure of training at one project. I had the pleasure of having 40, apprentices on site at different stages through their apprenticeship in electrical from first all the way to fourth, and being able to train them specifically on site in different key components in healthcare. Healthcare, if you can do healthcare construction, you can do anything in the world. So the bottom line, it's one of the hardest things you can do, not just from managing the project, but just overall the intricacies and the details. And you just don't rush in and do things. You got to have a game plan. Yeah, huge risk. A lot of the times, we don't have an opportunity to build in an environment with, nothing going on. Right? You just build from greenfield all the way up. And in healthcare, it's, you have to take into a lot of different things and
No joke. Mistakes are big. Yeah.
Yeah. So that management piece fell into play. And when I got in my master's of electrical, I had my own company as an electrician. And then once again, just different family activities going on, and making sure that I was available for my family took a turn from having my own electrical company to becoming a project management within healthcare. We have our healthcare here in the province of Alberta is Alberta Health Services, and so the opportunity to join their team as a project manager. And initially I started in rural and then moved on into the city, the municipal facilities, managing 4 facilities. And that's when the whole portfolio piece kind of came into play, it wasn't just one project that you're working on. It was multiple, having 4 facilities for construction, renovations, new build, capital projects, stuff like that. And so with that, it just was a natural fit from my background in electrical and the finance management piece, that the project management piece just came into play. And I was with healthcare for about 8 years, and then I got into manufacturing. Manufacturing,
Wow.
yeah, was kind of a spin. I had the pleasure of
Yeah.
doing a project when I was in the healthcare. We did a project where everything was built on the interior side, was built off-site in a manufacturing facility here in Calgary. And what it was a whole new world for me. Our typical construction, this is how we do things and that kind of stuff, to this was very interesting. I wasn't part of the design process on this particular project. I inherited the project. The day I started the project, we opened the construction bids. So I had no input on the actual planning and design of the project. I was just thrown into it. And so it was a whole new experience to, have things designed off-site and, built by CNC machines where everything's to the 1/1000th of a millimeter accuracy.
Hmm.
And
Ooh.
so that planning piece was very, very different. And I was just absolutely enthralled with the technology of it. And, this is a better way of doing construction, especially in healthcare environment when we have infection prevention and control
Ooh.
considerations to consider. So that kind of got the bug for me. And then I had the opportunity to go and work for them. And so that was interesting. I became their Canadian and Central US healthcare specialist. Traveled for a good year to
Ooh.
different healthcare organizations throughout the country of Canada and Central US, and met some great people and great projects, and just trying to, move the needle and so to speak into how we do construction, especially in healthcare. And then, of course, COVID hit, and it was kind of an interesting time because it was like, well, how do I, how, how do we engage when we used to be on the
Exactly.
plane 4 days a week, 4 days out of the five, traveling all over the place? How do I engage and build on that? And our organization decided to change mindsets a little bit and
Hmm.
became part of their constructability team as opposed to a healthcare specialist. So I was more of a subject matter expert for the industry, that for that particular organization, and had a great time, building some very, very interesting processes and starting, the PMO mindset in that organization, as well as trying to build on, what it looks like in the future. And then I had
Did you find like project management and like PMO portfolio management a sort of melting pot for all of the various experiences that you have been through? And is this why it made so much of a sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of like kind of where things evolved. Even when I was with Alberta Health Services, we didn't call it a PMO. We managed that portfolio, and we had at one given time, I had over 100 projects in various stages, whether they were in initiation or closeout. And so it was like, how do you manage all these projects at one given time? And then we realized, well, it's a bigger picture and it's the
Mhm.
portfolio. And then it's like, how do you even decide on which projects you do as a team? And so then
Yeah.
same thing is like being able to implement different processes to have people engage us prior to them even, saying, "Hey, we got money." It's like, no, we need to look at the bigger picture. And I was very
Yeah.
fortunate because of that mindset at the time, before PMO was really, getting a hold. I had that fortunate ability to sit on the facilities management team, and I chaired it. And so then we started seeing the big picture. So this was with the Alberta Children's Hospital. And it was
Mm,
great because, we had the executive leadership team of the hospital, and we had the
nice.
facilities team, and we had different representation from the various departments like IP&C. And so then being able to expand and understand the relevancy of why projects should be, advanced over other projects and that kind of stuff. So it was a really good opportunity, and it started building that direction of the PMO before I even knew what it was. And then, yeah, I got to a point where it's like, there's got to be something more out there. And that's when I started realizing and doing some research and finding PMO. And that's when you and I actually got introduced to one another about
Yeah, it
PMO.
was a good day.
Yeah, it
Absolutely, yeah.
was you really showed me some interesting aspects of the industry and our professional community. And I did some education on it and became certified, baseline PMO. And so that was a great opportunity, and it really just connected the puzzle pieces for me. There's
Yeah.
a
Came in the
lot of
right
the
time.
stuff. Yeah, a lot of the stuff we did without actually realizing it, and those puzzle pieces came together nicely, and we just started building on some of that structure. So now, understanding the PMO from the different, the three Ps, it all fits. It makes
Yeah,
sense. We take it to the next level, right? We take it to the next level, and it's incredible to see now from the leadership point of view. The executives in the various industries are recognizing how valuable project management is. And it is wonderful to see that individuals with project management as a profession, depending on which direction they go, you know,
mm,
IT based, or if they, in construction or whatever it is, it's
mm,
interesting to see how important it is. And those individuals now in the community are being recognized and taking on executive leadership roles. You-
yeah.
and that just solidifies how important, the basis of project management is as a
Yeah,
whole.
it's like what you said, because they can connect all the pieces. They're able to see
Absolutely.
like, top view and are able to speak with multiple people, multiple mindsets, and they're just able to connect all the pieces. So it gives them a huge
Exactly.
privilege, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
So whenever you speak about project management, portfolio management, project management office, specifically project management, you promote this ideology, which is you call project management as a service, right? So what does that mean?
So it's an interesting term because historically, project management as a service is a contractual obligation where there's lots of consulting firms out there that offer project management as a service to organizations that may not have the resources to do their projects or the capabilities, or maybe it's you know very sensitive type of project and they want individuals that have a higher level of risk management
Hmm?
than maybe the own organization does. So those organizations go out and hire, these various companies throughout the world to help execute those projects, whether they do it fully or whether they do pieces of it. And so that's typically what we know and have known as what project management as a service is. So PMAAS. However, where I'm coming from is I believe we take it to the next level and we get back to some of the grassroots of what really helps us connect as individuals and as human beings is the service industry. If we turn this in and look at it as it's not just project management. You're not just, doing a project, and our typical things that we always talk about as project managers is, and as the, sponsors, what they want to see is, in scope, on time, and under budget or on
Papers,
budget.
documents, templates, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
exactly. right? So that's the typical expectations. But at the same time, what about quality? What about that level of service? You know, yes, we executed the project, we're successful, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, what is the relationship now? How is the relationship with the stakeholders? And when we talk about relationship, it's it's not just the stakeholders that are external, right? It's the stakeholders internally. So your
Ah,
whole
ah,
team, right? So when you look at the whole team of the project and you look at the whole team of the sponsors and any of the external stakeholders, um, what is that level of service that we're actually giving them? You know, yes, we did those three things, or maybe we did two out of the three things. Well, let's take it to the next level and look at the quality of what we're doing. And when we think of service, and this is where, you know, I had such fortunate background to be part of so many different industries. And within each one of those industries, there's always a different level of service. So when you think of manufacturing, right, you think of, well, if we manufacture a good, what are our quality control measures? Our
mhm,
quality,
mhm,
right? So we have this quality control measures situation. And same thing, you know, service industry, it's like when you're waiting on tables or you're serving drinks or, you know, you're in the hotel, it's like
mhm.
our measurement was how much of a tip did we get? But at the end of the day, it's like, what is the value of that service to what we bring on the project and within the project? So within the team, you know, how is everybody integrating? How is the communication? How is the values of the team? What are the expectations of the team? What is the intent of the team? What is continuous improvement? Like there is a whole gamut of what we believe that this project management as a service can be. And that's why we're calling it project management as a service plus. That's the direction that we believe can add that extra layer of
Ah,
value to what project management can bring. Sort of like the icing on the cake, right? The cherry on top. We believe that level of service can expand the quality.
plus, more than the icing on the cake, more than the cherry on the top. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of where we're coming from for project management as a service now.
It's as if, Richard, like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's as if you are introducing this idea where, like, everybody, while everybody's busy with the quality of the product, the quality of the process, you are opening their awareness and channels of awareness for people to also focus on the quality of their relationships
Correct.
on which everything else, is properly built up. Because if that's not transparent and if that's not like, that's not like solid, then everything else is just an assumption.
Exactly. Yeah. Very well said, Doa. Very well said.
Yeah. And is that something that you see people are missing right now?
Yes. You know, we can execute, right? As project managers, we're really good at executing things. That's you know, when you look at the initiation of PMBOK way back in the day, to how it's evolved nowadays, is that we look at it as, you know, our methodologies, our method of doing something. We have a process. We tick the boxes. You know, we have the Gantt chart. We have all the different
Nice.
tools that we create to help get there. But what is the tool about the team? What is the tools about the people that are involved? What are the tools that the stakeholders are going to be, you know, walk away going, wow, that was an amazing project? You know, we also have to look at the expectations of our stakeholders is that we can't always meet all the expectations. But what we can meet is we can provide a level of service that maybe we didn't meet certain things, but the level of service outweighs some of the offset. Right? And that's kind of where this relationship building comes from. You know, lots of times we talk about, you know, do you want the Cadillac, right? The Cadillac of service. Do you want the Cadillac of the project? And it's like, or are you just willing to pay for, you know, a typical a car with four wheels, a steering wheel, and it's got a couple of doors. Uh,
Mm.
what at what level? It's like, well, you can get this, but there's something missing. What is it missing? Oh, it doesn't have radio. Oh, right, I forgot about that. It's like, so what else enhances that experience? And so when we look at the projects as a service, it's like, what else, how else can we enhance the overall experience? So when you are part of this team, and this team, you look at high performance teams. High performance teams, there's a reason they're high performing, and it's not just they tick the box. It's not just they get everything done on schedule. There's other things that come into play, and that is their continuous improvement, their quality of understanding each other, their empathy within the team, their responsiveness to the team. They have a set of rules, like they have their rules as they build their team. It's like these are our norms, these are our expectations as a team. This is how I expect to be treated. How do you want to be treated? What is the level of communications? Like all of those things, and customer centric focus is the backbone of filling in the gaps. And it's so we're not robots, right? We're not robots just doing a project.
And when you say customer, what do you mean?
Well, the customer, from my perspective, is absolutely every single person on the team. So if I'm the project manager, if I have a project coordinator, they're my customer. If I have a client that's in the meetings, that's a customer, of course, right? Client is a customer. But if I have the mechanical engineer, he or she's a customer. If I have the representative from IP&C, they're a customer. If on the team there's an
Course.
individual from maintenance, they're a customer, right? So I have to look at every single one of them as a customer and meeting their goals and their expectations of the project. Each one of them is going to have different set of expectations, and they're looking at their project through different lens. As project managers, we in our stakeholder engagement, that's what we have to filter through. We have to kind of get there, but it's also providing that level of service. So when I think of them as a customer and they're part of my next project, it's like if I, goof this up, so to speak, if I goof up that relationship, how are we going to interact on the next project? How are we going to, are we even going to be successful on getting the next project, depending on who that individual is? And so that's the mindset, is that every single person within the project team is a customer. And when you think of that, then it's like now you can bring in the level of service. And so those are the things that we're building on. And we believe, just fill in the gaps, fill in and make the project, make it more human, make it more, part of the relationship. It's not just a
Yeah.
project, right? It's a relationship. How do we do this together?
It's what you're saying is like beyond being professional. It's
Correct.
being professional, like you say, plus building this humane relationship. So our relationship does not end when the project ends. No, you want to come and work again with me for another 100 million projects, because you see service, you see a relationship, you see, growth, and, everybody being happy. And this is where you capitalize on, Richard. This is the idea that you're trying to spread and you're trying to make people become aware of.
Yeah, exactly. Just overall, that's what we want to believe. We believe that we can provide, um, to people, through training, through coaching, through mentoring, through consulting, taking it to that next step. We can be so good at what we do, but at the same time, how are we engaging with everyone? How are we communicating? It's interesting.
Yes.
I'm going to a professional development conference here with our local PMI chapter here in Calgary, Southern Alberta chapter. And I threw it out there in one of the polls just to say, what are the top three issues that you're facing? We've got over 200 and some members going to this conference, and some of the feedback that I'm getting on the poll is some of the issues that are coming up is communication and engagement and those kind of things. And that fits right in with service. It's like the basic foundation pillars of service is
Mm,
what we have a belief in. And we think that level of service, when you understand that, the other stuff comes really natural, uh,
yes.
and bringing that back.
Yes, because I think service sort of leverages even like communication, takes it up to it becoming connection, like
Correct.
true connection. It's not limited to, it's not time bound, it's not project bound. It's like an ongoing, like a relationship, which is
Exactly.
definitely
And
good for the business. It's not going to hurt ever the business when people have that kind of relationship with other people, whether internally or clients or externally.
yeah, and part of it too is like a lot of the issues on this particular poll that we put out there is the foundation of the things that are missing. When they identify certain things, there's roadblocks on their projects. It comes back to the fundamentals of things. And those
Yeah.
fundamentals is that level of service, very basic communication. And it all connects, everything connects. So yeah, we're excited to, come at things from a different lens. Professionally, we are all professionals in our project management fields. Whatever education we've taken or our experiences, we are professionals, and we are subject matter experts as well. But there's that component that we want to make sure we feel can enhance the overall experience for everybody on the team and be even more successful than we already are.
It's a big mission. It's a very big mission, Richard. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, I need to ask you that question. What if, like, what happens to us as people and as professionals? So as people also, not just professionals, if we decide to keep downplaying the role of the service mindset in our everyday life?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a tough one. That's a good one. I like it. Good job, Doa. Yeah, the service mindset, overall, it involves an adapting an approach that prioritizes the needs and satisfaction of stakeholders. Those stakeholders, like I said before, are the team members, the clients, the customers throughout the whole cycle, right? And when we talk about the whole cycle, it's the whole project life cycle, no matter what stage it's at. So that service mindset, we look at stakeholder focus. Where is that mindset, that clear communication? Do we have the empathy? The problem solving orientation around the ability to address potential issues before they escalate. How many times do we get into certain projects and right away we've got conflict, right? When we build a team, we have this evolution of building a team. When we form a team, then of course we have storming. How do you get through that wave into the norm,
Mhm.
into the high performing? The quality deliverables, what are they? The team support, development, adaptability, accountability is critical. I believe in the service mindset is, we talk about it, and I know it's been a buzzword for a while, is accountability. But what is accountability overall? And we take ownership of the different decisions and actions. That's great. How do we honor those commitments? And then at the same time, what is the transparency around those challenges and activities that are more service oriented culture, right? Is kind of where we're going with that. And then, of course, like celebrating the successes of service mindset, you want to celebrate, whether
Yeah.
they're small or big, you've got to build that in to that service mindset, you know, and that just helps fuel the team. It helps fuel that mindset. It's like, I know I can do better. It's like, wow, look at the feedback. Like, for example, feedback. I've been teaching some courses recently at a local technical college, and I'm getting some feedback, and that feedback just resonates with our belief of service and that
Mhm.
ability. So, getting that feedback, it's like, how do we learn from it, or what do we need to change, or yes, we're on the right path.
Yeah.
This is the direction, right? So that
Yeah.
learning orientation has to come into play as well. So by embracing a service mindset, as you called it, which is bang on, project management teams can foster a collaborative, positive atmosphere that enhances stakeholder satisfaction and promotes that team engagement that we're looking for, and ultimately leads to successful project outcomes, but also ultimately leads to the success and the positivity of the experience.
Yes, experience. How, like their everyday experience. When you just said now how people will honor their commitments, and it's not just why they need to commit, it's such a huge difference. It's like how they look at the commitments as like they should be grateful that they were granted these commitments and they want to fulfill rather
Yeah,
than compelled, I gotta do this because I don't want to get fired. It's a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
180
exactly. Yeah, like it's one thing to be assigned tasks, right? We all have tasks to do.
Fine tasks,
Right?
robotic.
Yeah, we done, process next,
Next,
right?
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's that accountability piece where we believe we can do it. We have an obligation to the team, but at the same time, the team has to recognize the support that has to be given to that individual, or maybe it's a subgroup in the team, right? Even a
mm,
subgroup sometimes when if you have a like massive project teams,
mm,
you know. So when you look at that accountability, where's the support for the that team or that person as well? And that's part of that building that team right up, and that's a high performing team. Like
yes,
when you've got team members that recognize, hey, this person is floundering on this particular portion of the project. How can we support you? What do you need? Do you need more resources? Do we need to look at this from a different way? What's going on? That together is a team accountability, and
yeah,
that's even more important. And even fosters that overall collaboration and positive atmosphere, even in a higher direction.
yeah. Like when you speak from the heart, and it's not just because it's a script, but I mean, it's all the difference in the world. Uh, what is the missing formula? Like you've walked into so many corporations, Richard. You know what's going on out there. What is the main missing pieces in the corporate formula right now? I mean, it's everything that's going on in the world that you see are, sort of dangerous. That threat that is a threat to the service mindset.
Yeah, that's a good question. And, we've really gone like globally, as we all know, we've really gone through some different phases recently. And, we're changing organizations differently. We've got hybrid work, we've got remote work, we've got in-person work. So globally, we've had this big shift. How do we get stuff done? And, we've proven that we can do things in a whole different way than our traditional 9 to 5 in the office kind of work. And it's really broadened the opportunities and abilities of different individuals all over the world. We've got people working in a whole bunch of different time zones on things that we never would have been able to do before because technology is now bridging that gap of being able to share resources or experiences or knowledge or whatever it is, like even organizations being able to do work in different areas around the world that they never would have had to because it was more of a physical base. But now they can hire local individuals and teams to do stuff for them. And so now globally, the expansion of markets has increased. But one of the things that, you know, has taken us, a bit of a pause in this, like this service mindset and how do we make sure that we provide service is we're still focusing too heavily on the tasks. We're still in a mindset where this has got to get done. What's next? What's next? We are opening up to listening more as organizations, listening to our employees, listening to our customers as well, in the sense of, how do they need to do things? And we're looking at, like the different work culture. Like if you're physically in space, what does that space look like? Looking at the opportunities, okay, the flexibility of being able to work from home. We're listening. So that's starting, but at the same time, we're still in a mode of how are we connecting though? How are we engaging with these different work atmospheres that we may be experiencing? You know, we get on all our teams or Zooms meetings, and you got back to back to back to back, and we're not. A lot of people just feel the need that they have to, go to the next one. They have to be part of that. Somebody says, okay,
Processing.
yeah, because of the process, right? But where have you built in the humanity piece? Where have you built in
Yes.
your personal wellness piece on it? And so when we look at that component, is are we providing the right level of service? It comes from a different place, and people are now starting to push back, of course, which is good because same thing, this is how lessons learned.
Yeah.
We have to learn from this. We can't, keep breaking and keep, pushing people to the brink that they have burnout, and now we've lost,
Yeah.
highly qualified individuals in different roles around the world because of our drive, to be like the best organization or to be the one that sells the most widgets or whatever it is, those kind of things. So I feel like there's still an opportunity where we need to take pause and bring that humanity piece back. And I think the natural component of that is understanding the service,
And is this
overall.
where you introduce the what you call the moral compass, the ethical compass? And I can see the compass
Ethical.
right there on your logo. Is this like one of the main pieces that is sort of corporates need, you know, your help with right now?
Yeah, it's a great comment, Doa, because some of these things that we're talking about is that ethics component, and when we have the ethical compass of a project and we bring that into play into recognizing what it is on our team and the individuals that we work with on a continuous basis, is are we providing, right, that ethical being and making sure that we're all pointed in the same direction? And if we're not, recognizing the other aspects of individuals and other global opportunities as well. We have a big mix now, and this is really interesting too, is the cultural piece, generational piece. Like, I don't think
Mm,
we've ever been
yes,
in a situation now in the world where culturally, generationally, gender based as well, like so many differences of opinions and backgrounds and morals and values than ever before. And so
yes,
that in itself, we have to look at how do we bridge all that? Like
yes.
how do we work together? Even myself recently teaching to international students about project management, different courses, and understanding their cultural backgrounds and learning from them how I can incorporate into my mindset in being able to work with other cultures, and the recognizing what is acceptable, what is not acceptable norms, is a key component nowadays of working together globally.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, is this like, this is part of, obviously, clearly, this is a part of what you do in closing the gaps in these companies or corporates. So what is something that you offer, or what are the things that only you, coming from all of this, like, history and as a human being, what are the things that you're offering your people, your clients, your students, or like professionals out there that nobody else actually has, that you can't see anybody else is offering actually?
Sure. Um, well, we feel like we have that background and the drive to provide the best value, right? So when we look at
Wow.
the service, uh, you know, we're looking at this from a completely different value. Like, yes, we have consulting services. Yes, we have, PMO. We have, other things that we do. But our real drive and our passion right now is this. And what this is taking project management to another level all around, whether it's, PMOs or whether it's executives. We're looking at this being a situation where we can help mentor, coach individuals in a different direction uh, within their professional capacity. And, as professionals, we look at the overall, we've done education, we've done experience. That's why we're here now as professionals, and we've maybe studied on a certain focus, if it's agile or whether it's the project management professional or other opportunities within the project management realm of education. And when we look at it, we say there's things that add value on top of this. And so we're looking at project management as a service plus as a cornerstone to something bigger. And that bigger is kind of like the PMO, right? The PMO is taking the organizational directions, making sure projects are aligned, identifying a higher level of risk, collaboration between the different departments and stuff like that. So, but now let's meld in this level of service. Like, let's meld in what it means to be a communication expert. What does it mean to be, have the lessons learned methodology mindset, right? Typically, lessons learned, individuals on a project, we say at the very end of the project, oh, okay, now it's time for our lessons learned. And we all sit there going, let's see, do I remember anything? What did I learn in this
I don't
project?
remember anything.
Oh, but what happens though is we remember the negative side of things.
Yeah.
We typically go to oh, remember that change order that was $200,000, right? Or do you remember they introduced this new piece of the scope? The sponsor introduced a new piece of scope that extended the project 6 months. Like, those are the things that we tend to focus as humans. We focus on the negativity.
Mm.
The mindset of service is lessons learned are every single meeting that you're at. Lessons learned should be a key component in the agenda of your meetings, whether it's design, whether it's construction, whether it's part of the Scrum piece. It's like, whatever it is, there's got to be something that happened along every single time. There's got to be part of that journey is the lessons learned, and it's understanding. It's like, wow, we shaved 2 days off because of this. Well, why?
Wow.
Right? And it's like, well, document it. It's got to be shared, right? It has to be shared. It's like, well, remember when somebody said, well, let's use this type of bolt instead of that bolt? Well, most people could care less. But this is a project that we're going to rinse and repeat because it's going to go into 100 different healthcare facilities in the next 4 years. So
Mm.
it's important, right? So we've got to share it. This is the cornerstone. So that lessons learned methodology has got to come into play on an ongoing basis. So we emphasize that and we build on that. We have the documentation support for it. So then we also look at, growth and opportunities. What is the growth potential of this project or of this team? What are potential opportunities? When you build the relationship mindset, then the opportunities come with it. So when you
Yes,
kind of think of business development, right? Kind of think of business development that way. So that,
absolutely. Yes.
and then another component for us too is the strategy behind things, the strategy behind how you look at things. How should the mindset of service from a strategy point of view look?
Mm.
When we get into all the different realms. I mean, strategy is a key component, and as project managers, we're really now starting to get recognized as individuals that we have the experience, we've gone through things to help build on strategy within organizations, right? So, as strategic leaders, what would we do, right? And how would we do it? And why would we do it? Understanding a lot of those W's is a key component from a strategy point of view. But at the same time, too, it's like add service in there, add your service a bit layer, and it
With the
just
service mindset, like encapsulated in the service mindset.
exactly it just adds even a higher level component of success. And then, of course, we always look at leadership, right? How do we improve leadership? What does that leadership look like? How can it look? What is, the holy grail of leadership, so to speak, kind of thing. And then we look at emotional intelligence, EQ. You know, it's been a big buzzword for a long time. We've got right? It really has. But it's like emotional expert. Like, are
It's
you
real. Yeah.
right? It's a real thing
Yeah.
because you have the foundation, you have the understanding, you can build on the empathy, you can look at things about what the service of customers' feelings and their experiences, and you should strive to understand their concerns and address them sensitively, right? So, building on that emotional intelligence piece. And then, of course, the collaboration. Collaboration is critical. We got to get out of these silos. We've talked about it for years and years, but collaboration overall, right? So now take that to a service component, right? That collaboration piece should inherently provide service to everybody within the organization. And that is the mindset where you want to build on how do we collaborate? Why are we collaborating? And the success of collaboration, right?
Mhm.
So
And the
if I
joy
collaborate
of
with somebody
collaboration,
else, sorry,
and the joy,
yeah,
joy.
absolutely. Like back to the celebration of success. Like because we collaborated, this is the end result. And it's like, well, I didn't really think it was that important. Well, if you had worked in your own department and that was never shared, what would have happened? Right? And because we worked collectively as a team, this is what happened instead. So
Yeah.
really understanding where that goes. So, and then of course, we get into like we talked about before, kind of more of the ethical compass. So integrity and accountability,
Mm.
right, component is a key direction for us to add that layer of value in understanding our moral obligations, right? So once again, accountability, we all say, oh yeah, you got to be accountable, you got to be accountable. Well, what does that really mean? Do we really define it? Do we understand it? Can we breathe it? Right? It should become a natural thing, and it should be a natural thing surrounded within the organization globally, so that we can support one another on those accountabilities. Accountability, same thing, we look at things from a positive direction, right? The accountability, some people say, like, oh, I'm going to be held accountable for this one, but they have a negative connotation towards it.
It's
And
because they don't come from a service mindset, because
exactly, right? When you have a service mindset, it's positive. Everything should be from a positive point of view.
you will feel
And
privileged because you are accountable for it.
exactly, well said. And then, just looking at the overall alignment of things. Right. The one thing that, as I transitioned from project management into understanding there was a bigger thing as a PMO, same thing. It's like I feel like this is now expanding everything where we can really align and all the different components and you see things. And that's the wonderful thing I love about puzzle pieces, right? Puzzle
Yeah.
pieces, each one of them has their intricate shapes and they're in different ways. You can turn it this way, you can turn it that way. Is this the right color? Oh, that doesn't quite match. And it's like if you look at a puzzle piece, how can it make it whole? The
Mm,
alignment of all the puzzle pieces together make it whole and make it a
mm,
big picture, right? So
mm.
that's that's what kind of where we're coming from when we look at project management as a service plus.
Absolutely. Many people are sort of intimidated when they, tap into the project management world, Richard. And what is a kind of like, what is a word of inspiration that you can share with these people or in these organizations, um, if they start opening doors to looking at project management as a service in their everyday life?
Yeah, that's a great, bottom line is you're right. Um, when we talk to different project managers over the years, there's been a lot of people that have said, I inherited the role. I kind of like, I was doing this, and then all of a sudden they were like, well, we really think you'd be good at this. And then I'm in this project management role and maybe not have been, given the education component yet, but they've got some sort of experience and the organization believes, historically that this is the type of person that we feel should go in that role. So yeah, it can be daunting. It can be, quite scary to all of a sudden be, in a role of project management. It's like, well, what does that look like? I don't know. And so when you think about that, and as professionals, we've all been there, in the sense of taking that next step. When I went from, you know, an electrician to running my own business, that's the next step. From when I went to running my business to project management, it was a natural step. But in between, there was a lot of things I didn't know. And so we're thankful that we have the Project Management Institute, in the sense of being able to identify that years and years and years ago, how many decades ago. And there was a big milestone recently with Project Management Institute, and so that education component is there for us, which is wonderful. But the other part is mentorship. If we look back through our experiences growing into our roles that we have, did we have a mentor? If we did, wonderful. You're probably one of the few. But I feel one of the things that we now have to do as project management professionals or professionals in any industry, I think it's more and more important now that we have to um, provide that level of service of mentorship back within our own organizations. Take the time to find somebody that, is learning, is taking on a new role, or new roles created even within organizations.
Yeah.
What does this look like? How do we make this position, an individual going into this position, a success? How do we support them? You know, does our organization have, an internal mentorship program? And if you don't, look outside. And as project professionals, we should be looking for mentorship too, as well, because that relationship of having a protege and a mentor, it works both ways. That relationship should be a successful one by the mentor having an open mindset to also learning from the prodigy, especially nowadays, between the generational gaps of experiences and technology and whatnot. Like for me, continuous learning is my self motivator, and so I lean on people. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I never will be. Never have a desire to. My ability to look at the resources around me, they're the resources. They're there for a reason, and so I look at that as through my mentorship too. Is when I partner up with a protege, is where do they want to go? How can I provide success to them? But at the same time, how can it be a mutual success? So I look at that as that level of service too, is my education component, my ability to learn and open mindset. So overall, mentorship, I think, is a critical component of our professional community. Um, and I strive on being there. You look at coaching, I used to coach a lot of sports. I used to be involved in a lot of sports. you'd see the ball, where's the ball? Or you just look for a pack of kids, right? They're going back and forth. Or same in hockey,
Yeah,
where's the puck? I don't know. There's like five of them laying on the ice, and it's like wherever it is. But then there's that moment in time in the season where all of a sudden everything just clicks and the pass goes from one to the other, just like in practice. And it took like how many times, rinse and repeat. The power of three. Always remember the power of three. You know, practice, 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 and then all of a sudden there it is. It clicks, and
clicks.
yeah, I get goosebumps all the time. And in that moment, you just see that all that effort, all that continuing support of these individuals, and they get it, and it clicks, the puzzles together, and there it is. And I have that with the mentorship piece too. Seeing someone pass their project management professional examination, seeing someone, for the first time get up and speak. I teach about presentation skills, and the very first time that I saw them speak, they're sitting down. The next time, at the end, they're giving a 20-minute presentation to a group of, 20 or 30 people. And in that moment, the reward is amazing. And so that's where that level of service comes back. And I feel mentorship and support of one another is just critical nowadays, in just believing in each other and being able to drive the needle even further.